Hello, welcome back to my channel, chesscom. Today's video is the Slav Defence. This is part one of the Learn the Openings. So this is a black opening, and this is quite a good one. So we played this against in the rapid increase, so we won against it, but it was very difficult. It was one of the harder games we had to play against. So we'll go through this, and it's against the Queen's Gambit. So if you don't like the Nimzo Indian, for example, this is pretty good as well. Starts off with d4, d5, c4 instead of the classic e6, where you get, you could have this, for example, or you could have, the classic stuff like this. Instead, we made it a little bit different of c6. So it's still the same idea here with, we can always have captures like this. We can still have the knight come up, but now the bishop is active, so it's almost allowing this white bishop to now be allowed out, plus you can also defend this pawn. So that's why it's so popular, is because of this. Now, what are the main ideas for black? It's a rock solid pawn structure. You want to keep this free, you do not want to block this in. You've got flexible development, knight f6, bishop out, bring this out. The only thing that's a bit trouble is this knight. But if you can trade these pawns off, maybe after, you can get that there. And I think later on in the game, you can have good potential for a win. For white, I think what you got to try and do is keep that space advantage, because we've only moved a pawn up one square. You can always keep this square, a little bit tied in, and you've got a lot more space around this sort of area here. And you definitely have a development lead as well, obviously being the one who moves first. You need to keep that. And also pressure on the queen side. That's why we've already got these pawns here as white. And central files. That's why the rook on c1 is always really one of the best places to put a rook for an open file. So, what are the key variations here? So, after this part here, the normal moves are knight f3, knight f6, knight c3, and d takes c4. Now, sometimes this take here can be changed a little bit more here, but now this is where we get some sort of aggressive moves here now, and we can get into some quite difficult positions. So, obviously, black temporarily gives up the centre, but you've got to try and hold on to this extra pawn. This is why this move here is used a lot. It's a very good move, because if they don't really try and attack you too much, and they try and go like a4 here, you could even try and go b4 now, and take that extra, you're almost getting into this sort of position here, where you're almost in an amazing attacking queen side here. But it is very theory heavy, so just got to be careful with that. Now, obviously, there's the other classic just exchange Slav here. This is actually better for black in my opinion, because now both bishops, are easy to access. The only thing is white does move first here, and now this changes into a bit of a different game. And I would say here, just develop quickly, castle king side. I'd say even Franchetto, this is black bishop probably, because this isn't going to do too much. You can probably get a knight over here, and I'll get the pawns out this way. Now the other one, which is technically a separate opening, but we'll go over it just quickly because we're going to do this for another video, is after knight f3, knight f6, knight c3, we can actually play, instead of capturing here, the main line, we're actually going to play e6 here, and this is what we call the semi-Slav. So this is how we've got two pawns here. So now this is a very sharp and tactical position. What actually happens now most of the time is you'd want to Franchetto this bishop, even to a6 most likely. When you attack that, well, when they castle the rook there. And it's actually very popular, like people like Botvinnik, who was quite an old player in like the 20th century or so, or even later. Very good. And again, more theory, but openings like this, you need the theory, and it will help you improve. I mean, if you go for an opening with absolutely no theory, like a system, it's good, but the more theory, the more the opponent doesn't know, most likely. Now, I would say, in my opinion, that's really it for the, you can always mess around with the different lines as well, have a look yourself at some of them. In my opinion, I think the best line is to try and grab this pawn as early as it can. Now, a lot of your games will probably have stuff like, after this I might play e3, for example, try and protect this pawn, and that will probably happen. So what I would say here is you want to get that bishop out, get this straight away, and then maybe even try and make the pyramid. I say make the pyramid here as this could lead to some quite good positions here. And we might get into a position like this, where it actually, weirdly enough, looks very London-like. If you do the semi-Slav here, can be very much, if the bishop was there, obviously it would be. But if you don't at all want that sort of idea, and so they take, again, what I would say is we want to gain a position where we almost want to French chateau really quickly, and actually they probably want to get that bishop out here. And I think in general this would be, changing your opening almost. You kind of get off the Slav here, and you're looking at probably a very even game. Just be careful on the queen side, because all your pieces are very heavy king-sided here. But I'd say, last but not least, what would I say is the best here? I would say you need to try and grab this pawn, but not quickly, but not too late. It's very difficult to see why. Obviously, if this happens, you take straight away, in my opinion. This move is always very scary, I would say, to be careful with, because they get this. But you have got this lovely move here, which if they do take, you actually undouble pawn yourself, and you're in an actual very nice position, because this isn't even passed. This is nearly, because of this pawn here, and we are fighting so much better here. All we've got to do is probably push this. Good thing is, what we can do is, after they move this, we can put this pin and then block us off. So now we've got our Maroczy bind here, a very long one as well, and our bishop is now free around here, and it's not blocked in as well, which is good, because we can always, come back here. So I would say this opening is incredibly good. I should start playing it as well myself for the rapid increase. I like teaching the opening, then playing it there. So hopefully, if we ever get the Queen's Gambit now, what you'll see is you'll very ready play it, because the Queen's Gambit, the higher you go, the Queen's Gambit becomes less of a normal opening, I would say. I think that's where you get e4s, maybe even some people play London still there, and stuff like that. But anyway, if you like this opening, give it a try. Again, you might not win with it straight away, but everyone has to try and go through it sometime. So hopefully you enjoyed today's video. So thank you, and bye-bye.